Hey everyone, exciting news. We've officially launched the Paranoid Perspective Patreon. If you love what we do, unpacking conspiracies, chasing mysteries, and laughing through the weirdness, now you can support the show and get more of it.
So, for as little as $5 a month, you will get exclusive access and extra perks to the episode. Sarah, what do we get with tier one?
So, tier one is the Curious Minds, and you get a shout out at the end of every episode.
Next tier, this is what you guys really probably want, ad free episodes. We don't need those pesky ads that you guys are getting on Spotify, Apple, whatever else. You will get all episodes ad free, along with what else, Sarah?
You'll also get it ahead of time. So before the episode releases for that week, it'll be available for you to watch or listen.
So, if you guys are interested, check in the show notes down below, or you can head to patreon.com/ the Paranoid Perspective Podcast. Welcome back to the Paranoid Perspective. I'm Jake.
And I'm Sarah.
Today we are going over, well, Sarah, it's like every time you come up with something you want to do, it's something that I want to know about. And it's starting to become some like a weird, like more than a coincidence thing. So what are we talking about today, Sarah?
Today we're talking about the Hoia Baciu Forest in Romania, which is apparently the most haunted forest in Europe, maybe the world.
It's wild, man. Like
Yeah.
I've done like the YouTube rabbit holes, like multiple videos in a row on the Hoia Baciu Forest. Like it's
Yeah.
there to not, coin the phrase away from, Bradshaw Ranch. You want to talk about real high strangeness, it's fucking there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. This will be not as disappointing,
yeah, I don't think so.
but yeah. And there's been a lot of shows that have done this too. So
Yeah,
it's definitely on the radar. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's like History Channel, Discovery, like Travel Channel, like all the like
Mhm.
heavy hitters have done some like or multiple, you know,
Yeah.
series or shows about this forest.
Right. Yeah. So it's called the Romanian Bermuda Triangle, which is, I didn't know that, but it's a few miles away from Cluj. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah,
I'm not Romanian.
yeah,
It's in northwestern Romania and it's the heart of Transylvania. So already,
yeah. We're already in the spooky country.
yeah. But it's so close to the city that it's like, why is it so spooky? But we'll get into it.
Yeah.
It's only 3 square kilometers though, which is like 1 square mile. So it's pretty small too for like a forest.
So that's the thing that blew me away. Like when you see like documentaries or you read up on this or something like that, you're expecting like this massive expanse of like
Yeah.
wilderness. Realistically, if you walk in a straight line, you'll be out of there in about an hour
Right.
tops if you're really moving
Yeah.
slow. So,
So yeah, that makes it even creepier, I guess. It
right.
is very dense though,
Yes. Yeah.
but still. It's yeah, road is yeah, so close. So in the next 60s it gained worldwide infamy because that's kind of when they started I guess scientists started researching about it and stuff, and they were excavating settlements that they had found in the forest.
Okay.
Because I guess like there was an ancient like conflict a long time ago and kind of a massacre from like this ancient town, I guess, that used to be in there. So they
Actually
were,
in the forest.
yeah,
Okay.
apparently there's ruins, although some people say they see the ruins and then they're not there anymore. So,
They're just shy.
but yeah, there were some kind of people living in the forest. I mean, I would say, like maybe how Native Americans lived, where it was not like buildings and everything, just more natural living.
Yeah.
But people lived in there. And then they were excavating it from the 60s to the 90s. So
Damn.
there's been a lot of, yeah, like some people made this their life work,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Um, yeah, there were a lot of scientists who became interested in the forest because of the strangely shaped trees,
Mm-hmm.
which I could share a photo in a little bit. But also, there's like a clearing. Everyone talks about this clearing where nothing grows there except like very short grass, maybe,
Yeah.
or everything's dead.
Yeah.
And they don't know why. So that's one high strangeness.
Well, and the crazy thing is you can see it from like, if you hop on Google Maps or Google Earth or whatever, like, you can see it from the satellite images. It's that prevalent. It's not
Right.
like there's, somewhat of a clearing of trees here. It's like, no, this is a fucking circle in the middle of the woods.
Right. There's literally nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's like some physical and paranormal effects of the trees. First, visitors report sudden symptoms when they're walking in there, like headaches, vomiting, skin burns, scratches, or like disorientation. Yeah, so it's weird. And they say these effects intensify the closer you get to the clearing. So it's kind of
Okay.
like centered around this clearing, which they
So
call the rotunda.
okay, yeah. So everything is like emanating from the center of where that clearing is at. And the closer you get, it's just like
Yeah.
more uneasy and more. I mean, the scratches and stuff, like, we can chalk that up to probably, like, you're walking through a dense forest, but, like, the
Yeah.
nausea, like, immediately happening and for it to
Hmm.
be so widespread and then, like, the feeling of uneasiness, I know that's kinda like some people like to associate that with the woo, but I think everybody's been somewhere, whether you think you're like even if you're not, like, scared, you've been in, like, a place where you just it doesn't feel right, and you can't, like,
Yeah.
explain it, but you definitely feel it, and it's
Yeah.
from my understanding of what I was looking at with this, it's a very, very common occurrence.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you're being watched or something
Right.
too, yeah. But locals do say like the forest amplifies like whatever you bring into it, like whatever emotion. So if you're kind of happy and stuff, maybe it won't affect you as much. But if you're already like nervous or depressed or whatever, it's gonna amplify that.
Yeah, I could see that too from, like, a psychological aspect, like, the whole, like, the ghost hunter shows or whatever that people do. You go into a dark, dilapidated building and you're looking for ghosts, like, you're
Yeah.
gonna already have that preconceived notion of you're gonna be scared shitless.
Right. Yeah. If you already think there's something weird going on, you're going
Yeah.
to be uneasy. So that makes sense. Yeah. And I'm going to share my screen real fast. Hopefully. Where is it? Oh, here we
Great
go.
podcasting material.
Share.
Podcaster
These are
listeners,
the trees.
see, that freaks me out more than anything. Like, that doesn't look
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. I forgot to research something about the trees because I have, that book I got for Christmas about the
Mhm.
hidden life of trees. I think it said something in there about like snowfall and stuff, like when the tree is small, the snowfall every year can like kind of bend it like that.
I
And then
see.
once it grows taller, so that could be a natural, but not, it's not like all the trees are like that though.
Yeah, but for
So,
for listeners right now, we're looking at a group of trees, and they look like upside down question marks, like, from the base
yeah,
of it, and then it, like, jets out, and from the perspective of the picture, they're jetting off to the left and then kinda hooking up and around. And
yeah, very weird.
the thing with the snowfall, like, that makes sense for maybe, like, the one that's, like, closest or second closest to us, where you can see, like, the root system is it's like the curve is in the ground. But
Mhm.
there's one kinda in the center of the picture where you have probably at least a 8, 9-inch diameter trunk, and then it goes up maybe, I don't know, from the perspective of the picture, maybe a foot, and then it's just like this
Yeah,
sharp right angle going off to the left.
right. It's really weird. Plus, the one that's the closest to us, like there's like a whole tree and then the other tree, it's like two trees, like branched off and has this weird curve on one and the other one's straight.
Yeah,
So,
so that's the other thing I was gonna say, with that one that's closest to us, the snowfall thing
yeah,
doesn't really make sense for that one because why wouldn't both of them be curved like that at
right.
that angle? And it's really weird that they're all curved at the exact like, facing the same direction.
Mm. Yeah, that is weird.
Now that
Plus,
could
it's not like all of these, sorry.
you're fine.
I was gonna say it's not like all of these were like grew at the same time either. Like I'm sure they're different ages and
For sure, yeah, I mean, you can tell that from the thickness of the trunks themselves, I mean, they do vary,
yeah.
but the thing that I was gonna say is, um, for them to grow like that in that same pattern at different times. It could be a matter of perspective from the picture that we're looking at. They might not all be facing the same way, but from the picture we're looking at, it looks like they're all jetting off to the left with that like loop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very weird. Also, people say that the trees, especially near the clearing, again, like with this weird clearing, they say that the trees talk to them
Interesting.
or they see them move without any wind
So
or they become mesmerized with the trees.
are we seeing with all the colors of the wind here, or
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe some people, but I don't know. That's just what the locals say. These weird trees.
Well, that
So let's get into the oh, you want to say something?
that almost reminds me of there's the that lore of, I want to say, I cannot remember where it's at. I want to say it's more of like a Norway, Scandinavia, like northern
Mm,
European thing of,
yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. And I think it is, anyway, it's a mythological creature that, you know, looks like an elk, but it has like arms hanging down from its face. I can't remember what it is. And it
Yeah.
lives in the woods, and that's what it, it mimics the trees to get close to you, you know. And I know we're not quite in the same geographical area as that, but you could be looking
Yeah.
at something as crazy as that.
Right. Yeah, they could still have a creature like that.
For sure.
Because a lot of people have similar legends, but
Right.
okay. Well, that wasn't in the legends for that kind of creature, but we could get into the other legends. First, people say they walk into the forest and they just vanish, you know, disappear, or they emerge later to only find like a search party that was looking for them. And they'll be like, oh, I was only gone for like an hour. And they'll be like, no, it's been like a week.
So
Like
not
weird
only,
shit like that.
yeah, not only are we dealing with lost time, we're also dealing with complete and utter just vanishing.
Yeah. Yeah. There was one story, I guess this is repeated a lot of places, but like a little girl, she was like 5 years old. She went missing in the forest. And then 5 years later, she emerged wearing the same clothing. And the clothing was clean. But
What?
obviously, it was like she grew.
Well,
So it was just like that. But the clothing was fine, not in tatters or anything. She came back out and she thought no time had passed at all. Like she didn't know the past 5 years had happened.
holy fuck.
Yeah.
How terrifying would that be? And the other thing that's even crazier about this is you talking about people going missing and search parties happening. To preface the beginning, we're not looking at a wide swath of an area.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty small, so how can they not be found? And then they come out later, like there's like a dimension there or something, another dimension. A real another dimension, not
Yeah.
like the Bradshaw Ranch. There was another story where a woman was separated from her friends and she was found later like dazed and she thought she was only gone for a few minutes but had been like hours and they were kind of have a search party and then she said in her pocket she had a 1500s like coin
Hmm.
that just appeared with her randomly. So maybe she went back in time.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you have these like interdimensional slips and you can, obviously probably not control it, but you can go through the different fabrics of different dimensions. And I mean,
Yeah.
if time is a malleable dimension like length, height, and width, then why wouldn't you be able to go forward,
Right.
backwards, wherever?
Yeah, maybe it's a vortex there or
Yeah.
something. A
That's why it's a circle.
nexus, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people say like footprints in the snow just like stop once it gets to clearing. Like again with this clearing, everything's kind of centered around there. But they do think that the clearing is a portal to another dimension. Some locals think that.
Sure.
But there was a local legend of a shepherd. He said like he found the clearing and went into it with his 200 sheep and then they never were found again. Like he just disappeared and all of
Along
his sheep,
Oh,
I
okay. I was about
guess.
to say along with the sheep, like they just didn't run out.
Yes. Yeah. And then one local guide said he saw 60 people in the clearing and he asked what they were doing and they said they were trying to open the portal. So they thought there was a portal.
Don't know if
Because a
I'd
lot
be
of like witches and stuff go
Well,
there.
that's fair. But yeah, I mean, I get that for that aspect, but man, it's like I think we've talked about this before where I think we did it with the astral projection episode. It's like I don't want to fuck with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I can believe and think whatever I want, but I don't know if I really want to experience that.
Right. Well, 60 people, maybe they feel safe, I guess. How do you get 60 people to go do this? Like,
Well,
that's a
there you
lot.
go. So one, you're convincing. Two, if that local legend is true, 60 people ain't shit compared to 200 sheep and another guy.
Well,
You
yeah,
know what I
that's
mean?
true.
So we could just get it going. We'll
Maybe,
get everybody. Lottie dottie,
yeah,
everybody. Come in the vortex. You're coming with me.
right. Every single person that ever steps in the clearing, it just eats you or something. I don't know. Yeah, so this is kind of the maybe origin story a little bit of like the bad vibes in the forest, but there was a local couple and the man ended up vanishing into the woods and the woman ended up killing herself and she became, they call it a strigoi, which is like a vengeful spirit, and she cursed the land when she died. So that's kind of the local origin story.
Yeah, I kind of understand because I mean, countries like Romania have been around for significantly longer than, any of the, like, for instance, the United States. And, people that were living there a long time ago, the woods were not a safe place because there were animals that would kill you. Wolves that
Yeah.
will just drag you off. So I get the aspect of like the warning of not going into the woods, but with it being, the 21st century and we still have people investigating this, like it's not just people disappeared, fell, got eaten by an animal or whatever anymore. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of answers. I guess no one's disappeared on camera or something, but
Well, I mean, it's kind of like every time you see, and I'm not like a huge believer in like the ghost stuff or I mean the ghost TV shows and stuff like that. It's just made for TV. But at the same time, if you did have an intelligent otherworldly entity, why would it show itself to you? It doesn't care.
right.
It
Yeah.
wouldn't like it wouldn't I wouldn't think it would care.
Yeah. Unless it doesn't want even more people in the clearing or like maybe it wants to be left alone.
It might be, or maybe it just wants, to surprise people. It doesn't want to
Yeah.
be, stealing on demand. It wants to be like, here you go, got you now. Weren't expecting
Right.
this, were you?
Yeah, I mean maybe like I said it wants the people to disappear so it doesn't show you the proof so people keep going to investigate.
Hmm.
And when you don't have a camera, then it snatches you. I don't
Maybe.
know.
Well, hey, I'll tell you what. Hey, listeners, let's crowdfund this. Sarah and I are going to go there. We're not going to have any cameras, and if the podcast never has another episode, you know what happened.
Yeah. That would be crazy. To camp in the clearing or something. Speaking of camping, so people do camp in the clearing and everything and like just hang out and stuff. Not everyone believes in what's going on or whatever, but there was one time a group of campers who was hiking. So they set up in the clearing and then a couple of them like went out to hike a little bit and then they found like a man that was like disoriented and like stumbling around the trees. And then he asked how to get to like the city. So they pointed him to like the path through the clearing and you just keep going straight till you hit the city.
Right.
And then he like kind of went off. But then later they said the other people at their campsite never saw him go through the clearing where they were set up. And then
Yeah.
they went out looking for him. Like they thought he had fallen or was injured and they didn't find him at all. And
Well,
that's
and walking through a clearing, even at night, it'd probably be pretty clearly seen. Just a random person
yeah,
walking out through there.
right. I'd be paying attention if there's a
Yeah,
random person in my area.
100%. Camping out in the
Right.
middle of
So
a field and somebody's walking? Hell yeah.
yeah. Um, so there's another story where a group was walking through the woods at night and they were like joking and laughing together about the stories of the forest. And then a man in the back kind of stopped and he was mesmerized by this tree. And he said like he said he was hit by a wave of anxiety suddenly because like he didn't know how long he had been standing staring at this tree and he noticed he was alone. And then he said, like, right by his ear. Like he heard a loud scream, like a woman's scream, like into his ear. So then he ran and he was able to catch up with his friends. And they said they didn't hear any scream. So
I
that's
wonder
weird.
if any extracurriculars were involved
Yeah.
with that
Well,
story.
yeah, it was at night. They were already laughing and joking and
Well, my
maybe.
thing is, and I'm not trying to discredit the story of it or anything, but you know, it's kind of like what I said at the beginning, man. You're in a place that's known to be spooky. You're if you're and like you said, if you go in there with that, mindset, that's probably what's gonna end up happening. Now, as
Yeah.
far as the lost time, however long that person stood there and the scream, I mean, very well could have happened, but
Yeah. I mean, it also seems like because they were joking about the stories, so it seems like they don't believe in it or didn't believe
right.
in it.
Well,
So
maybe
I don't know.
maybe maybe the forest is just like, "Hey, Imma show you guys, but not all of you,
Yeah.
just you, because 'cause
Right. You're the
you're laughing a little too hard, asshole. I'm gonna show you
right.
what's up."
Yeah. Right. I'm real. Damn it. Yeah, maybe. Okay, one more like story till we get to other stuff.
Hey, I'm
But
here for it.
there was a guy who's part of a local nonprofit group, and that they help maintain the forest. So,
Okay.
kind of like a park ranger, I guess.
Right.
So he told a story that he had heard about a group that went camping, and he said they heard footsteps around their tent at night, and they thought it was a deer. So they opened the tent to see, and there was nothing there. And they didn't hear anything like leave or anything. So then they just, went back to sleep. And like once they got settled in again, there were like the footsteps again, but like louder. So then
So
they
it's like,
looked again. Yeah. And then they still didn't see anything. So this happened, a couple times, like 3 or 4 times. And they said like the next time it happened, someone said it was like a horse because it was so loud and so
wow.
close, like how, yeah. And like they never saw anything and they did not sleep that night.
Well,
But they said
I can't blame them for not wanting to sleep, man. What were you
They
saying? Say
said it
something.
seemed like something was toying with them.
I was just about to say that. It sounds like it was more of every time you're gonna come look for me, I'm just gonna stop, and then next thing you know, when I think you're settled and you're feeling good, then I'm gonna fuck with you some more. So,
Yeah.
and I've heard stories about that with spirits and entities and stuff like that. Like it's more of a game that it seems like is being played than anything.
Yeah. More entertainment for them.
Right. Well, I mean, if time is irrelevant in that sort of you know arc of their reality, then I mean, like, what difference does it make? I'm just gonna go mess with some people. I know I would.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it could be fun. I mean, it could be like fairies. They're known to like mess with people.
That's true,
So,
and you're in the right area of the world for that sort of
yeah.
folklore.
Right. So there are like apparitions and like paranormal stories as well. They say these apparitions take the form of like plants, animals, or humans, but like most of the time it gives away that it's like not real because like the animals will be animals that aren't in that part of the world, or like the plants won't be native to that forest, or like the person will be a dead loved one or someone who lives in a different country and stuff like
Interesting.
that.
So we're seeing
Yeah.
like, you're camping out in the middle of the sphere in the little clearing, and next thing you know, a
Yeah.
goddamn fucking elephant comes through, and it's like, "Hey,
Right.
I think that's the fucking spirit. That's the spirit of the Hoia
Yeah.
forest, man. There's no elephants here."
Isn't that kind of like a mimic or something? Or
Yeah, it kinda gives me, like, the mimic or, like, the doppelganger sort of
yeah.
vibe, where it's not obviously not, like, exactly like the doppelganger thing because 'cause you're not seeing a mirror image of yourself, but, yeah, definitely something to, maybe to try to make you feel at ease with it, but not knowing exactly how to make you feel at ease with it. So it's
Yeah.
just kinda getting whatever it thinks, 'cause I don't know why, I just pictured, like, a fucking palm tree just out of nowhere and just being like, "That's not right."
Right, yeah. Oh my god, that'd be kind of a fun game,
Yeah,
like
hey,
with the spirit.
once again, Sarah, we're gonna go. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but man, we're gonna go and we're gonna document. Well, no, we're not gonna document because if we document, nothing will happen. But I'm looking forward to some palm
Well,
trees and some fucking elephants.
I mean, it's not necessarily true that nothing will happen if you document.
Well, that's
We'll
true,
get
but we get
into
the
that, but
I think we would get the most bang for our buck,
yeah.
and then we can
But then we
add
just have
to
stories.
exactly, we just have to add to the hearsay.
Yeah. And we could write a book.
Hey, I was about to say, all I gotta do is take a picture of a fucking TV in a window, and I can write a book about it.
Right. Yeah. People often also see people like walking in the trees and then they vanish. Like, when you walk behind a tree and then you're gone. Or they'll see like parts of a person, like just the torso or just a face.
Like floating?
Yeah.
Fuck
Like
that.
where you're,
Jesus.
that'd be scary.
Dude, if I like okay, seeing anything floating would be terrifying, but if I saw no shit, just a torso, I would be way more terrified.
Yeah.
I would rather see your face. Just show me your
Just
face.
like
I
a
don't want
leg.
yeah, like, I don't wanna see body parts. I'd rather just see the face.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be scary. Also, often there's lights like at ground level that people see like in the woods and then it'll move into the sky or like the tree line. And investigators have used like heat cameras then, and they don't ever see anything on the heat signature, even though they're catching this light on the camera.
Yeah.
And the
Personal
local
experience with
legend,
that.
yeah,
So,
right.
I can validate that shit.
Yeah. And well, maybe it's the same thing,
It
but Romanian version. But
yeah.
the local legend says that these lights are from the early settlers who were massacred. That's what they're thinking. And of course, there's like shadow people. Everyone sees these like just black silhouettes, I guess, or like shadow men.
Yeah, so here's the thing, and I really, really, really wanna believe it with, like, the shadow people, and, I mean, I guess I can kinda buy into it a little bit with maybe people that suffer from night terrors, something like that, but, man, when you're in the woods at night, it's a very foreign environment to you. If you're already scared, I think your mind is just fucking with you a little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
That's usually
people will see it during the day too, though. Like all
yeah.
these things.
No,
But
no, I
yeah.
know, but the thing with the shadow, it's like you always hear about it like, "I just saw it out of the corner of my eye." It's like, "Well, then you didn't really see it." You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
It's
Like
always out of the corner of your eye. It
yeah,
could have been a bird flying by really fast or
right.
something.
It's the same people that
Yeah.
see black bears stand up on their hind legs and say Bigfoot. It's like, yeah,
Mm.
you're freaking the fuck out because 'cause you're in the woods and you hear some loud crashing, and then you see a 7-foot thing or not 7 foot, they're not that big, but, you see a bear
Yeah.
walking on its hind legs like they do, yeah, fucking Bigfoot.
Right. Yeah, that would be scary. There's also an old woman apparition that's mentioned a lot. A TV crew, I guess, saw it. They didn't catch it on camera. They were driving in their van at night on the forest roads and they had become lost. And then suddenly the driver like slammed on the brakes and he said he hit a woman. And everyone was like, "What are you talking about? Like, we didn't see anything. There was no impact that they felt." But like, he was convinced that he just ran over this woman. And so they got out and looked around, and there was no impact on the van, no evidence of anything. They didn't find anyone within like 1 kilometer of the van. So I
Well,
don't know. It's
it
just a story. But
no, sure, but see, this is the thing too, I'm gonna dive a little into the woo right now. That you hear these stories about, like, individuals experiencing just things, like, they're in a group and it's just one individual, and I honestly think those individuals are probably more susceptible to different things as far as outside of the realm of reality that we currently live in, and it very well could be that, you're just seeing these, like, glimpses of things.
yeah,
I
you
mean
freak out a little bit.
right. Well, yeah, because I mean,
Yeah.
if you're driving in the woods in the middle of the night and you see a fucking person standing in the road, I don't care where you're at. I could be driving down my
Yeah.
street in my neighborhood, and if I see somebody standing in the middle of the road at night, I'm probably gonna be a little freaked out.
Right.
Let
Just
let alone
T-posing or
yeah, let alone in the middle of the fucking woods in Romania where I know there's a haunted fucking circle right down the road.
right. Yeah. And they're lost. So
Right.
yeah. There's also a local farmer, Stefan. So he was actually in one of the, I think it was Destination Truth went, one of them went. I don't remember exactly who, I guess, but they interviewed him, and he said one night him and his crew went into the forest to cut some wood. I don't know why they did this at night though, but they needed it for their work, and they were cutting the wood, and then the chainsaw just stopped working like suddenly.
Ran out of
Then,
gas.
well, then they heard something, and they thought it was someone like playing tricks on them, and then they saw movement and saw a shadow, like a very small human figure, and the shadow was moving from like one tree to another to try and like it seemed like, where you hide behind it and like peek out
My
from
bad.
behind it, like they're spying on them.
I got it. I was my mind went back to the, it'll mimic different trees and animals, and I'm picturing this. It's got a fucking orangutan just going from tree to tree, coming up on these dudes.
I was on the ground, like ready.
I got you. That's just
Yeah.
immediately where my mind went.
And then they also said, like all of them, they said they felt like they couldn't move from that spot. Like they were paralyzed to that spot and like they couldn't move until like 4 a.m., he said. I don't know what time they went out there, but they were like stuck there till 4 a.m. And then he said, like, once 4 a.m. hit, like they felt like they could move again and the chainsaw started working again, like right away. And they could do their work after that.
Fuck that! I'm not doing shit. I'm going home.
They did their work, I guess. I don't know. I
Hey,
don't know how many people went with him, but
hey, more power to those gentlemen.
yeah.
If I'm look, first of all, talk about being annoyed. Like, let's say even just if they were out super late and, let's say it was 1 o'clock in the morning, this fucking forest made me stand still for 3 hours.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
going home and going to bed. Second,
Yeah.
if the forest and I see little shadows of, orangutans swinging through the trees or whatever, running across doing whatever, I'm not going to stay and do my work. I'm going to be like, cool, I can move now. Time to fucking go.
Right, yeah. Time to go. Well, I guess since it didn't like harm them or anything, I mean, whatever. I don't know.
I don't really care about if it harmed me or not. I'm not dealing with that.
I mean, I'm not going out there at 4 a.m. Why?
That's Yep, solid
I don't
decision.
even I don't even like going out in our parents' woods at night. I know we
Yeah.
used to as like a kid, but then one day I don't know. I went out there as a teenager and I felt creeped out. And I was like, I'm not going out here again at like
Yeah.
midnight or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I remember doing that all the time too, and there were a few
Yeah,
times where, like, you had that uneasy feeling, but, I mean, I always chalk that up to just, active imagination and stuff.
yeah, right. But okay, so there's been UFO sightings as well. Could get into those. Civilians often report UFO sightings, like over the forest, just within that 1 square mile for decades. They've done this. So, the most notable one was a military technician on August 16th, 1968. His name was Emil Barney, and his girlfriend and two friends went out. It was a sunny day. They went to the clearing to have a picnic.
Solid
So,
place.
yeah. So he walked away to collect wood, and then suddenly his girlfriend like shouted at him to like return because they were seeing something. And then when he came back, they were staring at the sky, and above them was like a metallic shaped UFO. And
Hmm.
he took photos.
Yeah?
And then yeah, I can share the photo.
Man, I'm
We
excited.
can
We
talk
finally got
about
some
that.
fucking pictures.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I included pictures this time. So this is the photo he took of the UFO in the clearing. So I mean, it's black and white, and you can see like kind of the grass and then the trees, and then in the sky. I don't. It kind of looks like a top hat, maybe to me. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it looks like the film's fucked up.
Okay.
But
Is this
okay.
another?
I
Okay,
don't
look,
I don't know that for sure. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. Now, listen, I'm not.
like a bubble.
Yeah, or I don't know. Like, it just looks like the film got damaged a little bit to me.
Hmm.
Now, that could be wrong because I have seen. So, Sarah, preface: this is better than Bradshaw. Okay, so I'm not giving
Yeah,
you too much shit. I promise.
that's okay.
But I have seen other things that do kinda match that characteristic because it almost looks like a bubble,
Mhm.
and some UFOs have been told, like, it's like there's, like, an outward, like, ring or aura around the UFO, and I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
that could be what you're photographing. If we're gonna go off of, like, Bob Lazar's account of how they, like, actually propel these craft as they bend gravity, you would see that sort of deflection in light and in the space around it, because you're bending the gravity around the craft, not the craft isn't, like, physically moving, the you know
Right. Yeah.
I'm too ignorant to talk all about that. So that could very well be what we're looking at right now, because it does look like, if you look out into, like, they have pictures of, like, black holes and stuff where you see this, like, weird
Mm,
aura from all the light that's being bent because of the massive gravity. I
right.
mean, it could be something like that, but my gut is telling me my rational mind is telling me that that is just a little bit of a damage on the film.
Okay, well, I don't know. There were witnesses, but they also said it looked just or similar to this UFO that is another picture. This was a couple years earlier in Santa Ana, California, and it's like hat shaped.
I see. So this is like the top of it is facing
It
us.
may Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
so listeners, we're looking at something that looks kind of like a very, very small top hat.
Hmm.
And the first picture that Sarah showed that it looks like it's like the top of the top hat is facing us. That's kind of what it looks like it's banking almost,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
kind of. Right.
Okay, well, I
So,
mean,
I don't know.
with some context here, that makes a little bit more sense. You know what I mean? Because I can see like the defined edges of the top of that structure and the outer ring of it,
Right.
and they
Yeah.
look relatively similar.
Yeah. And it was only a couple years apart, but
Mhm.
obviously one in Romania, one in California. So he said after he took these photos, it started to flash brightly and like kind of twist in the air. And then it shot off into the distance like super quick.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and if we're kind of entertaining that idea, I mean, that would be a pretty good characteristics of that bending the space around you. You would see these weird fluctuations of light. And as
mhm.
far as speed is concerned, like I said, the craft itself isn't technically moving, it's moving the space around it it's like slipping forward. So you're not really confined by any sort of drag, any sort of, elemental changes such as the medium you're flying through or going through. So I mean, I can get down with that one, Sarah. It's not as bad as the TV on the window.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty bad. So the photo and the original negatives were analyzed and they said it seemed genuine at the time. Lots of people, for some reason, said it looked like a weather balloon, and I don't think so at all. That's just normal. Like, it's a weather balloon. Like, no, maybe, but also people are saying like he made it up, but he was a military technician. So it's like, why would he make it up, especially in the 1968?
Right.
And that was during the communist regime. So he said he was later interrogated by some strange individuals about the photographs,
Men
and
in
then he
Black?
was taken, yeah, I guess. And then
Hmm.
he was taken to the central offices of the Communist Party, and they questioned him. And then they took the photos away from him, so he didn't ever get them back. And then he lost his job.
Hmm.
Like they fired him from the military. So,
Interesting. Well,
yeah.
and during that time, I mean, if you think about, that time period of like the Roswell incident and stuff like that, if we truly did have a retrieved foreign alien spacecraft, everybody would be trying to reverse engineer it. And
Yeah.
that's just what we do. And the fact that at that time too, United States and Soviet Union were, you know, neck and neck trying to get, the next big thing going, wouldn't be uncommon for any of any country to have that sort of technology, especially in both geographical areas. Like we said, California was the one where it was kind of more on the plain. You got more of a side view of it. And then the one in Romania with the top view of it. I mean, it wouldn't be
Right.
uncommon, I wouldn't think.
Yeah. So that's kind of the main UFO
Yeah.
story that I have. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the rotunda, which I guess I shouldn't have stopped sharing my screen because I took a screenshot, like you were saying, from the like Google Maps. That's what it looks like. Like that's just a screenshot from Google Maps, and you could see it's not perfectly round though. A lot of people said it was a perfect circle.
No.
Obviously, it's not. From
Yeah.
maybe it used to be,
Well,
but now it's like that shape. So it's
yeah,
more like a blob.
yeah, listeners, if you're watching, if you're listening to this, pretty much what you can see is if we were orientated this picture like north, south, east, west, like let's just assume that the top of the page is north. So on the south end, you have a road that kind of jets up over into the east. And
Yeah.
the best way I could describe this would be like a rounded, almost rectangle, like an oblong rounded rectangle is kind of what it looks like.
Yeah. That's a good analogy, but
Because you
it's
do,
not a perfect circle.
no, definitely not. You have some definite sharp, like almost 90-degree angles off to like the
Yeah.
northwest side of it. Once again, I'm assuming I'm just orientating this to kind of give like a somewhat of a visual, or northeast of it. I'm sorry. And then when you start going west, it starts rounding off a bit.
Right. Yeah.
So,
But it's still very weird. I mean,
yeah, for
that's a
sure.
pretty big clearing. Yeah. So, like I said, it's called the Rotunda. A lot of people camp there though, so I guess it can't be that weird, maybe. But
Only if you
locals say
believe.
that, well, yeah, locals say that this clearing has remained unchanged for 450 years, apparently.
Well, I mean, in the span of time, that's really not that much time, for like
Yeah, but
natural
it
things to happen.
you'd think it would erode more or something though, maybe, or like
Well,
grow or shrink. I don't know. But just grass grows, and a lot of the grass is kind of dead or very short. But scientists have done a lot of soil analysis on the clearing and the forest like around it, and they don't see any difference between the soil. So it's like things should be growing. So they're
yeah,
not really sure what's going on.
because that was the only thing. Like, I've definitely partaken in the spooky side of the documentaries when it comes to this, but I've never really paid attention to any actual scientific stuff. So that's interesting that the soil is like the composition isn't different at all compared to the other area. That'd be
Yeah.
like the first thing I would expect is there's like something, I don't know, maybe something underground killing the vegetation or
Right.
whatever it could possibly be.
Yeah. I don't know. They haven't found any differences so far. Also, like I said, the trees kind of grow warped and unnaturally, but I guess it gets worse the closer you get to clearing. So it is kind of like weird as well. Maybe something like, I don't know, impacted that area or something.
Yeah, yeah, that could be true. Well, my question would be, like, I've never done the research on it. Are there trees in other areas of like that part of Romania that grow that way, or is it just in that area?
I was trying to find that. I am not sure. Everything I found about the trees warped like that, it said like the Hoia Baciu Forest.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
I guess I don't know if that's because it's so popular, but I don't think that it happens because I looked up what kind of trees are there, and it's like normal trees like beech and alder. Like it
Yeah.
was trees that grow a lot of places and they don't get warped like that elsewhere. So,
Yeah, I mean, an impact would kind of make sense as far as why I mean, like a small asteroid with, I mean, I don't know, it wouldn't be radioactive because you'd be able to detect that.
right.
But the trees thing is
Yeah.
what kind of gets me. The clearing, I mean, it could be some weird natural phenomenon we don't quite understand, and maybe that's what's making the trees do that weird upside down question mark looking thing.
Right. Yeah, if it's in that soil in the clearing, it's kind of seeping out, then it
Right.
would make sense all the trees closer to it is warped. We just don't know why yet, but Um, so this was in the Expedition X episode, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, but they did ground penetrating radar for the first time there, and this was in
Okay.
2024.
Nice.
Or the episode came out in 2024.
Well,
I guess I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But they found evenly spaced underground cavities in the clearing. So they're
Interesting.
thinking it's an unmarked graveyard, maybe where the massacre happened or
Yeah.
something.
Or
So maybe
maybe
it's
they
cursed.
yeah, I mean, so that was my first thought with we you talked about the massacre that happened. Back in when was the time frame did you say that that supposedly happened?
They just said ancient. I'm not really
Okay,
sure
so we're
how
we're
far
talking
ago.
yeah. So at that time, people probably like, especially somebody that just massacred a group of people, they don't really give a shit if they put them in individual graves. So they probably just carved out a bunch of mass graves and just threw them in there. I mean,
Right.
that'd be the most
Yeah.
effective way to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
even the people of that area, it might have been too time consuming to do each individual grave. So a mass grave might have just been the way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that might make sense. Also on the episode, I don't know if this is what's production, but the female host, because the male host was with the guy doing the ground penetration radar, and then the female host went to a local witch to talk about like the legends and everything. And apparently that was happening at the same time. But, the way it was filmed, who knows if they were.
Right, right. Could have
But
been weeks
the
apart.
right. But the witch claimed that the forest was cursed and has to be cleansed by finding and destroying the lost bodies. So it was like weird that they maybe discovered a graveyard,
Hmm. I wonder
but they
why.
couldn't dig up or anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always that weird. That's the only thing I don't like about things. What's that one island where supposedly there's treasure?
Oak Island?
Oak
No.
Island. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oak Island. It's one of those things where it's like, dude, if some random dude can just start digging a hole, I don't want to hear all this shit about like, oh, it's Skinwalker Ranch, you can't dig. Oh, at Hoia Baciu Forest, you can't dig. It's like, dude, why? There's
Right.
never a good answer for that. Especially
Yeah.
if we're doing some scientific, like, I'm not saying some random dude just come in with an excavator. Do it scientifically, figure out like, okay, obviously through the lidar that we see or the ground penetrating radar, whatever they used, you can see that there are caverns. Why would you not do something to maybe not excavate the whole thing, but see what's
Yeah,
there?
at least see one of them.
Right.
I mean, the guy that helped him, like the local, they did say like he was gonna do the whole clearing and see and map it out kind of, but he would need like, weeks to do it and stuff.
For sure.
So they didn't have an update on that. I'm not sure if they are actively like looking at that, like with the
I'm sure
locals or
somebody
anything.
is.
Yeah. I hope so. Maybe there'll be an update later.
Hey, I'm here for updates.
Yeah. So there have been a couple scientists that have been studying it. So first was Alexander Sift. So he was a photographer and a scientist, and he studied the forest from the 60s to the 90s. He made it his life's work. And he said because the first time he went into the forest, he like heard a teeth chattering sound. And then later he was nauseous. And then he said he saw shadow men and heard voices of children. So then this like just captivated his mind and he had to investigate the forest.
Think that would be captivating my mind. I'd be getting the fuck out of there. Chattering
Yeah, I
teeth.
don't know.
Fuck that.
Right, like yeah,
You know what this sounds like? Sounds like the next 30 years are gonna be awesome.
right. I mean, yeah, he died in like the 90s, like that was his life's work. He did try to capture like shadows and photographs. I don't know how many he caught, but he often caught strange lights on camera which weren't visible with the naked eye. So I have that one picture of that. I just like
Probably
sharing my
nice.
screen so much.
Okay.
This was a picture. I mean, it kind of looks like a comet, though, but very close to the Earth, I guess.
Yeah, that I don't know about yeah, I get what you're saying. The only thing that kind of freaks me out, and I mean, obviously we don't know anything that's around the surrounding area. It almost looks like a lens flare, but it looks like a wide
Mm.
shot too. And that like
Right.
I would think, I mean, I'm no photographer or anything, but I would think a lens flare that large, maybe it came from the moon or sun, depending on what time of day.
Mm,
Maybe.
yeah.
That's what it kind of looks like, but usually lens flares you have like more of a star pattern, if I remember correctly, and this only having the 2 jets shooting out from the bottom and the top
Right.
kinda looks weird. So, listeners, if you're listening to this on, any streaming, really, we're looking at, like it pretty much looks like a landscape shot of, like, a wood line, and then there's almost this, like, large teardrop light in the center with 2 arms jutting off to the left and right. So,
Yeah. It's very weird.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he took a lot of other photos, but this was like one of the more popular ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, it looks wild, so I get why
Yeah.
it would be.
Yeah. And then after his death, someone broke into his home and stole the forest research, and only that. Nothing
Fucking
else was touched.
fucking Men in Black. That's who did it.
Yeah. Right. Very weird. So, I don't know. He was on to something.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith got in there and got all his shit.
Yeah. And then the other scientist is Adrian Petrut, which you've probably seen him on like, History Channel or something. I guess I should I guess I shouldn't have stopped. I'll just share a photo of him really fast because you definitely would notice him, like
Yeah,
recognize him.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
I
listeners just look up his name. You'll
yeah,
find him, but
he
yeah.
looks like the quote unquote aliens meme. Looks like his dad. That's the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
So,
Right. He kind of looks like, that toy? It's totally sidetracked, but where it had like the shavings in it, like the iron shavings, and you'd
my
move it around
god.
and put
Yep,
the afro and like that's what he looks like. That guy.
that's spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on. And you took a
So
little off the top and gave him a mustache, just because you were feeling fancy.
yeah, right. So he is a chemist. He's still alive as far as I could find. He's also the president of the Romanian Parapsychology Society. But he collaborated with SIFT. So he was there a lot with SIFT, like when he took the photos of the strange lights and stuff. So he's kind of a witness to say, yeah, we couldn't see this in person, but it showed up on the photos or whatever. And like, yeah, he is the expert now. Anytime you ask about it, you're gonna probably be talking to him because he's been investigating it the longest and he's still alive. But he's the one, he said in 1975 he found ruins of like an old building. This is kind of the only place I saw like the story of ruins. But he said they took a bunch of photographs, like him and his team, and then like something was stuck in his head about him. So, like the next day or something, like whenever he returned next, he went straight to look at these ruins again and they were gone. And no one in the group could find them. Even though, again, it's like a small area.
So, multiple people saw these.
Yeah, him and his like investigative team. And he said all the photos they took were blank after they got them developed. I don't know. That's what he says.
Listen.
He is considered an expert, but
Well, yeah, so is the fucking alien guy with the crazy
yeah,
hair on the History Channel.
right.
I'm
That's
like,
true.
I'm not like, hey, all I'm saying is I was so there with you until you said all the pictures were blank,
I know.
you know?
Okay, well, you'll like this. He says that he believes science can explain what's going on. We just don't know the answer yet.
Oh,
But he thinks science will explain it. Like it's not like I don't know. He said maybe infrasound. We talked about that before.
yeah. I mean, I've
He
heard
said
that
it's
theory there
possible.
too, that the way that the
Yeah.
wind hits those trees and the weird, like,
Right.
curve of them, that it does cause weird subfrequencies that we can't hear but will make us uncomfortable.
Or he says unknown radiation, but they've taken readings everywhere and there hasn't been any radiation indicated. But
Yeah, and I mean, even if it was something foreign, it would still give off something we could measure. Like if it was like
right.
some crazy dense element that we don't have here on Earth that crashed from outer space, you would still be able to measure some radiation level from it, you know?
Yeah. So there have been media investigations, like I said. So I'm gonna talk about Destination Truth and Expedition X. I think Ghost Adventures went too, maybe, or
Yep.
one of the ghost shows.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah. But Destination Truth was in 2009. It's season 3, episode 1. But they said, well, they also did the soil samples and those came back normal or whatever. And then they said when they were in the clearing, they had massive like EMF spikes
Hmm.
that they
Yeah.
weren't anywhere else in the forest. And then they said their FLIR cameras stopped recording even though it still had power. Like I said, it still had power, but it wasn't showing up the image. And they had people sit in the clearing like one by one to like kind of record. So they had a team recording like in the tree line, and then someone sat in the clearing to kind of like talk or whatever. And they caught on camera these lights that were moving above the host's like left shoulder. So, but he couldn't see anything. Like he looked around and he tried to see anything. And he also had the FLIR and it didn't show up, but it showed up on like the monitoring camera.
Yeah.
So I didn't take a picture of that though, but if you want to watch it, not a sponsor, but and then this is was crazy. The cameraman, so the second person to go in there is the cameraman, and he doesn't believe in any of this stuff. He just, does his job. He's the cameraman, whatever. And he sits down cross legged, and he said he starts hearing women like talking faintly around him.
Hmm.
And then suddenly, like on camera, he's like thrown backwards from his seated position, like from like his right shoulder, like his right arm comes up and is like flown backwards, and then he's flown backwards in like an instant. So they caught that on camera, and he was in a like seated cross-legged position, so it'd maybe be hard to fake that. But I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'd have to see it. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
Listeners, when you see the short on whatever wonderful social media platform, I'll probably have a video of that so we can talk about it.
Yeah, I was thinking of screen recording it, but I couldn't find it for me. Well, I mean, I watched the episode on my TV. I didn't take a video of my
Well,
TV,
right,
but
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah. And then he said he felt itchy. So they had the medics come and they like rolled up because he had like his long sleeve jacket on. So they rolled up the sleeve and he had like these giant like scratch marks on his arm
yeah. Well,
that
I was
had been lifted up.
I was gonna say maybe the fucking plants, the entity turned into poison ivy, and it's not, you know,
Yeah.
capable of doing that in that area, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. And he said he had felt like the wind like came from above and like hit him.
Mm.
So,
Well, and to be fair, it really sounds like a lot of the investigations that I've like watched on the Hoia Baciu Forest, there's always been like one person in particular that gets most of the weirdness. So
yeah.
like we kind of talked about earlier, I think there is something to that place, and I think people that are more susceptible to that are the ones that are getting it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the medic like came and checked him out, and then right after that, the medic vomited suddenly.
Well, I mean, maybe the scratches were
So
deep and he doesn't like blood. Shitty
he's a
medic,
medic.
but well,
Well, I don't know because they say you feel nauseous, whatever. They also caught an EVP, I guess, of a woman screaming and some giggling, but it was very hard to tell what was going on. I don't know. I don't think,
yeah.
yeah.
I've never been a fan
Um,
of the EVPs for being
right.
real.
Unless it's like super clear, I guess, but
Yeah, but even then,
I
it's
don't.
like,
Yeah. Yeah, and they also had cameras, set up in the general area to run like throughout the time. And they caught like a light in the forest as well. It looked like a fire, I guess, that was just like kind of floating there in
mm,
the middle.
okay, so kind of like flickering but moving through the wood line.
Yeah, I mean, it was a still photo.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So then the Expedition X, I guess the same host from Destination Truth, he kind of sent these people to go. I don't know if he was like kind of hosting, but not traveling as much or whatever, because this was in 2024. So like he had a team go investigate again with like new equipment since it had been, so long. And they repeated the solo experiment with a woman in the clearing, and saw she kept seeing like the cameras moving and stuff, but they couldn't catch that. But the camera caught this like thing moving. I'm gonna share my screen for the last time because this is on YouTube, so it's free if I will link it. But where's my window? Here we go. Okay. So I don't know if you can already kind of see there's something like where that opening in the tree line is. They'll circle it though too.
In the center?
I like here
Never mind, I
if
see it
you're
now. I
watching.
got it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's sitting in the center. They have all the cameras around and stuff, but then while she's like kind of talking and freaking out about this camera moving, then they catch like this like moving,
Oh, I see.
and then then they look at her. I don't know if
Yeah. No,
well, they
I
didn't
mean,
replay it, so
there was
okay.
there was definitely a large mass that moved from tree to
Yeah,
tree, for sure.
and it was kind of shaky
Yeah.
or like glitchy, I guess. It wasn't smooth. Do you want to see
Yeah,
it again, I guess?
yeah, let's take a look at that. I got it zoomed in on my end too. Let me see what we got. Yeah, okay. So I definitely saw legs
This
move.
is our most replayed section. Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But the top part was like weird. So I definitely saw like legs for sure. But
yeah,
like when you look at it, like listeners, I know this is fantastic podcasting right here. So head over to YouTube and check out the all the
yeah. The
graphics
link
we
is
have.
in the description
And the link
for
will be in the
this because
description
this.
for the video.
Yeah,
But no, like you look at it, it looks like just a mass. It doesn't look like anything. But then when it moves, it kind of
right,
like solidifies a little bit into something like a form. And you can definitely see like two legs for sure
right.
when
Yeah.
it starts to move.
Well, I feel like the torso's kind of moving too.
Yeah, yeah. I was just really focused on the bottom
You
half
want to
because
watch
that's
it one
really
more
where.
time?
Yeah, let's watch it one more time. Listeners, forgive us,
Okay,
but
one more time. Yeah, if you want to watch it with us, you have to go to 3 minutes and 43 seconds on the video. Here we go.
okay, yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like it's skipping
Yeah,
like it's like jerking
it's
forward
still
or
it's still
something.
it's still rendering. You know.
Yeah.
It's coming
Right.
into the dimension, but it's not fully there yet.
Yeah. So like that was the big thing that they caught on camera. And I mean they did the ground penetrating radar and all that stuff too, so but yeah, that's kind of what I have. There is more evidence than Bradshaw had, so or whatever,
Well, and
more compelling
to be
evidence.
to be fair, I don't want to, poke too much fun, but I think Bradshaw was literally a grift. This place has been documented by hundreds, if not thousands of people, over like you said, hell, yeah, dudes working on it just by themselves for 30 plus years. So
Right.
I'm more inclined to kind of dive into the weirdness of, this opposed to a thing like Bradshaw where there's only like two people kind of really pushing this.
Right. Yeah.
So it might not all be real, but I feel like there's something to it. I definitely think it's probably something like kind of like you said, like a nexus or a vortex or some sort of almost like a gateway where energy can pass through, whether it's passing into our dimension or vice versa. That's really what I feel like it is. And I mean, I know I probably sound like a broken record, but if we were seeing higher dimensional things come out of there, we wouldn't really know what it means. We wouldn't really understand it. We'd see something and to
Like a
play
leg.
yeah, well, and to play devil's advocate, like the video we just watched, they're using FLIR cameras. Those sometimes do get a little funky,
Mhm.
especially when you zoom in. They're not as clear as you would think they would be. That could be a product of the frame rate. That could be a product of the actual FLIR itself. I mean, there's a lot of factors that could happen with that. But
Yeah.
that's not the only weird thing that's happened there, and that's not the only experience people have had. Like, if it was a handful of people and it was the same handful of people saying the same shit, I'd probably be like, this is probably bullshit. We took pictures, but the film is destroyed. Like, okay,
It's blank. Yeah.
yeah, that sort of
Right.
thing, I'm not really here for. But there are other like well documented things, and I mean I know it's all part of TV, but why would you waste like that? Has to be so much money for a production crew to go and shoot, and there have been
Yeah.
so many things done on that place. You know,
Yep. I think there's something to it for sure. It's weird. I want to go.
Yeah. Hey, listeners, if you're listening to this way in the future, we might have already been. But as of what is today? April 22nd, 2022 or 22.
No,
Fuck.
25.
25. Actually, you know what? I'm going to cut that part out. Listeners, as far as 2025, we have not been there.
Yep. Yeah. Maybe
So,
in the future. Yep.
I mean,
Help
I would,
fund us to get there.
yeah, I would love to go. I truly would. I
Yeah.
think it'd be pretty
That would be
cool.
crazy.
I don't think
Yeah.
I'm going to be camping in the center, but
Right. Well, maybe during the day.
yeah, yeah, during the day I would have no issue like being there, and even at night I would have no issue being there. I'm not fucking sleeping there though.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Or just sit in your tent all night and listen.
hard pass.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really want to camp there either. I don't know. I'm afraid to see something, but I want to go still.
Well, you know what?
So,
Will probably be like you kind of talked about with the astral projection. You got all the belief and I've got all the abilities. So you probably wouldn't see shit and I'd just be sitting there
right.
fucking
Yeah.
screaming my fucking head off, losing time and getting mesmerized
Well,
by fucking poison ivy plants and fucking elephants or whatever the hell's there.
right. Well, it's good. I'll be there then. I can grab you and be
Yeah,
like, no, that's not real.
you could be my anchor as I'm tripping. There you go.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think I'm a dampener, so
Hey, yeah, I might
I'll
need it.
keep you safe.
Might need it. All right, well, listeners, that's going to wrap it up for today on the Hoia Baciu Forest. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Wherever you guys are listening to this, if you're listening on any of the streaming services, so Spotify, Apple, please take the time and give us a review, comment down below, let us know what we're doing good, let us know what we're doing bad. We will take all of the good, bad, and different. If you have a crazy story about the Hoia Baciu Forest, we would love to hear that as well. But yeah, anywhere you see us, interact with the post, likes, comment, subscribe, whatever the buzzword is for whatever the social media is. So appreciate you guys. And as always,
Remember, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not watching. See you next time on The Paranoid Perspective.